everybody. Today we are going to be talking about how to put up a tent. First of all, this is my assistant Sarah.
Hey guys.
Let's get into it. First of all, let's explain all of the parts of a tent because they're quite important. This is the body of the tent. That's what you sleep in. Underneath that we have the footprint. The footprint is quite important because it keeps all the moisture and sand out of the body of the tent. Right here we have stakes. Stakes are used to stake down your tent so the wind doesn't blow it away. And these are the poles. That's the structure of the tent. That's what's keeping it up. And over here, this bright orange thing is the rain fly. The rain fly is going to keep all of the rain out of your tent and keep you dry if it rains. So let's get into it. First step is choosing where to put your tent. First of all, you want to make sure you're in an area that allows camping. Right now we're in beautiful New Zealand at a campground, so always make sure that you're in a place that allows tents and allows camping. Second of all, we want to make sure that our spot is quite flat because you're going to be sleeping on it. So we've chosen quite a flat spot here, but to test it out, we're going to lay down. How do you think that feels, Sarah?
Do you think this is flat?
I think it's pretty flat. Could you sleep here?
I think I'd sleep here.
I
Perfect.
think we could sleep here. It's quite flat. That's always a good check to make sure that your area is flat and you'd want to sleep there for the whole night. All right, so once you have determined where you're going to put your tent, you're going to lay out the body of the tent. I've already done that here to demonstrate what the body looks like, but maybe you'll take it out of your bag. You're going to lay it flat so you can see all of the edges. Second, we're going to use our friend here to put the poles together. Usually these come in a bag, so you're just going to take them out of the bag and then take them apart, and they clip together. These joints slide into each other like so, and you're going to make sure all of the joints are put together so that the poles are all the way out. If you are doing this in a storm, maybe don't, so the lightning doesn't get you.
Maybe
don't.
Try another time.
All right. Next step is we're going to lay out the poles on top of the tent, like so, on top of the body, and we're going to orient them the direction we want them to go. The edge of the poles always go on the corners of the tent. Sometimes, depending on the tent, different poles will be different colors, and they might match up to different clips on the tent. You just need to pay attention to your tent and what it looks like. In this case, we can see that there are these little eyelets for the orange poles. They match up with the orange. So we're going to orient it that way, and then we're going to put the poles to the corners. Next, we're going to use our friend, and we're going to take the edge of these poles. There's a little silver piece. You want to come look at it. Silver piece is going into the eyelet here. It's a little circle on the corner of all tents. So what we're going to do is you're going to use your friend, and at opposite sides, the corners of the tent, we're each going to put them in at the same time into that eyelet. Boom. Then we're going to hold the poles, and we're both going to go to the other opposite corner and do the same thing we just did. We're going to put the end of that pole right into the eyelet there. Awesome. All right, next step is connecting the body of the tent to the poles. So here we're going to use these little clips that are on the tent, and we're going to clip it right to the poles like so. These usually always line up with where the poles are, so that's another good way to check and make sure that you've oriented your poles in the correct direction. This is important because it keeps your tent up and sturdy and ready for you to sleep in. Awesome. We'll get that last one on there. All right, now the tent is up. This is a great time to check and see if it's where you want it to be. Sarah, do you want the doors to be facing this way?
I think they gotta face the other way.
All right, here we're gonna pick up the tent. They're quite light, and turn it. All right.
Oh yeah.
Now we're ready to go. Our tent is in the correct position where we want it to be. Next step is the rain fly. This is super important so you don't get wet at night, and you're gonna need a partner for this step. All right. So, most rain flies have doors so you can get in and out. It is important that you make sure that the doors of the rain fly line up with where the doors are on your tent so that when you set it up, you can get in and out. So I'm gonna use a partner,
Okay, we gotta go.
orient this like so, and we're gonna flop it over the tent.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of awkward, so you just have to work with them. All right. So once the rain fly is on, you're gonna make sure it's oriented the right way. Again, we're checking to make sure the doors on the rain fly are where the doors are on the tent so that you can get out. Quite important. All right. On this tent, there are clips to clip the rain fly in. So it's just a little buckle. They're on all corners. Some tents vary. Sometimes you're gonna stake the rain fly in. It just depends on the tent. You'll just need to look at your tent, but it's always on the corners where you're going to attach the rain fly to the tent. So we're gonna make sure all 4 corners are buckled. Beautiful. All right, next step is staking down the tent. They're fine now. These are the stakes. Quite important to make sure your tent doesn't fly away. It's also important to stake out what is called the vestibule. The vestibule is this extra portion here that's gonna get staked out, and these are quite nice so that you can put your bag or shoes underneath them so that they don't get wet if it rains. It's a good place to store everything. And they're usually right where the door is located. So I'm gonna give Sarah some of my stakes, and then you can come over here and I'll show you how to put a stake in. So often stakes go at all 4 corners of the tent to make sure it doesn't fly away, and then we'll also stake out the vestibule. Let's do the vestibule first. In most cases, you would wanna stake out the corners first to make sure your tent's all the way down, but in this case, for time, I'm gonna show you how to put the stake in, and just remember to stake out all 4 corners. All right, so I'm gonna take the stake, and there's usually a little hole on the corners or anywhere where you're gonna insert the stake. If the ground is soft, you're gonna be able to use your foot or just your hand to push the stake into the ground. If it's not, you can always find a rock and softly, that's very important, you wanna softly hammer your stake into the ground. The reason I say softly is so you don't bend the stake, so they're not ruined and it's easier to get out. When you're putting your stake into the ground, you see these little divots in the stake, or oftentimes the stake is curved like a candy cane. You're gonna wanna put those facing away from the tent. The reason that is so the string catches on them and holds the tent in place. See? Awesome. Another important point is to put the stake into the ground at an angle. So it's gonna be facing towards the tent like so, with the divots out from the tent, and I'm gonna push it into the ground. Sometimes it's nice to use your foot, and you wanna leave about an inch or 2 of the stake above the ground so that you can get it out later. You don't wanna hammer it in all the way, or else you're never gonna be able to get it out. It's quite important. All right, on this tent, you're able to tighten these down so that the rain fly is tight and so that rain will be wicked off. I'm gonna do the next vestibule just to show you again how that stake goes into the ground. All right, we're doing it at an angle. Oops, that one fell off. And we're gonna make sure this is out, the little divot. We're gonna put it into the sand and push it all the way down with our foot at an angle. And this one did not wanna stay. Trial and error, folks. All right, now our tent is set up and ready to sleep in. Some common questions that people may ask about tents: are all tents the same? No, they are not. Every tent is different, but they all have the same components. They're gonna have the body, they're gonna have the rain fly, they're gonna have the stakes, and they're gonna have the poles. So sometimes it's a little bit of just looking around at your tent, figure out what your tent looks like, and setting it up in that general way. It's always gonna be the body on the bottom and the rain fly on the top. They might not all be the same, but they will be all made of the same components. If you have any other questions, let me know. Yippee, yippee.